Okay, here we go. We're about to jump into our Joy Bob. I call it Joy Bob because my model name is Joy and we're cutting a bob, so it's Joy Bob. So start off by sectioning out the back into symmetrical major sections. Come out 2 horizontal sections for your guideline. Okay, here we go. This is like the killer part. Natural fall. Comb the hair exactly to natural fall, and this time around I'll be cutting a super clean line, so I'll comb the hair onto the skin and then I'll slowly begin to cut in my guideline. Now, as I cut in my guideline, I'm always looking at the tips of my shears, and I also have a strong intention of the 0-degree square line that I will be creating. Natural fall is very challenging, so you have to be aware as to how you comb the hair. Okay, so just go in and refine your line. Take your next 2 horizontal sections. Again, we're cutting square, 0-degree horizontal, so my sections again will mimic the shape that I will be cutting. I'll adjust the hair when necessary, and then I'll comb the hair onto the skin because I want to nail a super clean line. And once I get the hair to natural fall, I'll visually assess it. And once my assessments tell me, okay, Lee, it's cool, everything's at natural fall, after that, then I begin cutting hair. But you have to make sure what you're working on with these bobs, that you are actually hitting natural fall and no over direction. So there's a couple ways I can approach this. I can comb onto the skin, I can cut between the teeth of my comb, I can comb skin hair section, like right here. I just dump the back of my comb onto what I'm cutting because it gives me a nice benchmark. It's like a guideline. Like the back of my comb is a perfect 0-degree angle. It's more perfect than the shape that I cut. So when I dump that comb in front of the line that I'm actually creating, it gives me that contrast and it allows me to see my errors and immediately jump in and nail my errors. Cutting a bob is extremely difficult. This is one of the first 3 haircuts that I learned as a student, and just because it's a basic, classic, timeless technique doesn't mean that it's easy. It's super challenging, and the more you cut them, the more you understand how challenging they can be. Since the best cutters are always up to the challenge, we'll get into techniques to up your game a bit. So again, just working with the tips of my shears, and make sure as you cut, your shears are always moving in a backward motion. It's kind of like you're a pickpocket. So just nice, subtle, come out the next horizontal section, and I'll stand in front of what you're cutting. Like when I'm working in this area, I want my shears and my eyes and my chest to be at the same parallels. Otherwise, I may have a tendency to over direct the hair a bit much. So again, just working in these minute details. And sometimes it's frustrating because if you're used to cutting bobs and always seeking out errors, you'll find the harder you look, the more errors you'll find. And basically, there's no such thing as a perfect bob. A high quality bob just has less mistakes than a low quality bob. So again, comb, scissor, section. So when I dump the comb in there, again, I have this tendency through the left portion to start to dump my angle. I have a tendency to, on the left side, to drop my angle so I would start going longer. And on the right side, I have a tendency to up my angle. So knowing yourself and your personal habits, so when I go into this haircut, I already have intention. I know the dangerous spots that I have to look out for. But everyone's unique. Just know yourself. Like the art of war. Know yourself and know the enemy. Because like cutting is quite strategic. Okay, so again, coming onto the skin, natural fall. My eyes are exactly in front of what I'm cutting for a reason. Because it allows me to see every minute detail. When I can see a detail, I can adapt to the detail. Then Also, like my chest and my body position is also in front of what I'm cutting. So that will remove that tendency to over direct the hair off. And especially when you're working with super, 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 beyond super thick hair, you have to pay close attention to these minute details, or you'll spend 3.5 hours after the blow dry refining the haircut, and you'll just make it you'll just make it terrible. It just goes downhill from there. So put in the effort during the technical part when the hair is wet. So use your comb when you need, even, consistent tension, and just go in there and nail that super, super, super clean line, and always pay attention to the tips of your shears. That angle is what actually determines the angle that you're cutting into the head. Coming out the next sections, again, always horizontal sections, and now my sections extend from the back all the way into the front. Make sure your eyes are exactly in front of what you're cutting. And now as I come to the front, wow, you have to be really careful about a lot of things here. One, the ears. If humans didn't have ears, hairdressers would totally rule the world. But anyways, make adaptations for that ear. Use less tension if necessary. Leave additional length. Make sure you're always combing the hair to natural fall. Okay, so I'll start off the next section in the back. Consistent tension. And a lot of times when you're cutting, like as your sections get thicker and they start to overlap, like your line might look a bit fuzzy and you're like, oh my God, did I just do that? But after you cut it, everything comes out cleaner. So just sometimes don't, a bob can really trick you up. So just stay focused. Here, I'll take it on my comb. I'll just make sure my comb is at 0 degrees. I make allowances for the ear via less tension. Come out the next horizontal section that extends from the back all the way to the front. And my body position, as I begin, I'm parallel to the occipital bone. As I finish, I'm at the front hairline. So you have to move with your shears. You have to move with your shape. You have to move with your cut if you want it to be fluid. And make sure your eyes are always right there where you can see absolutely everything. Excellence is always in the details. So watch that tip of the shear. Remember, as you comb, the stroke is you're pulling the comb back, not forward. It's a backward, smooth motion, like James Bond. So come onto the skin and just nail that line. And you'll find that as I reach these final sections in the back, I'll comb the hair with slightly more tension, just to allow for that cowlick. Because if they have a cowlick and you use way too much tension, once the hair is dry, you'll get tons of graduation in that line. So sometimes you might have to jump to a 10, like I'm coming with a 101, I may have to jump to a 107, or do what you have to do, just make allowances when you have to. And whenever in doubt, go longer than shorter. Okay, so comb the hair to natural fall. Just align the comb to the shape that you want. Make sure your eyes are right there in front of what you're seeing, and make sure that the client's head is upright and is in an upright position. Head's angled down as you move to the front. Your line, you'll dump your line. You'll destroy your line. And especially now, sometimes you may have those clients that love to be on the phone throughout the entire haircut. So the client has that natural tendency to always have the head at like a 30, 40 degree angle, and that will throw off your shape. So just be aware of that. The head position is essential, especially as you're moving towards the front portion of the haircut. And again, eyes exactly where you're cutting. My eyes are super focused on the tips and the angle of my shears. Make allowances for that ear. So comb the hair to natural fall. I can line it up with my comb, so give me like a quick reference, and I'm just making sure that my shear is at 0 degrees, a square line, and check for balance, and then take down your next section. Okay, so next section, again, it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but this technique is quite mechanical. Like there's certain functions you do and you just want to do them perfect. And doing them perfect is where the challenge is. Like in theory, cutting a bob is really easy. Everybody can do it. But when it comes down to action and actually executing a perfect bob, that's when these key details come into play. And these key details is what will make or break your haircut. And the thing about a bob, it's a 0-degree line. If you blow it, if you mess it up, there's no turning back from there. Like, that's one of the reasons why I like bobs and graduated bobs so much, because once you make one minor mistake, it just you're done. You're done. It's over with. It's just like it snowballs from there. And then one tiny mistake turns into gigantic ones. So just be aware and be focused. Keep it simple. So again, natural fall, line up with my shear, standing exactly where I'm cutting, and look at my eye level. I actually physically have to bend down. Or if I have to get on my knees, I'll get on my knees. You do what you have to do to get the result. If you're comfortable while you're cutting a bob, I promise you one thing. You are making tons and tons of mistakes. If during the process you're exhausted, you're uncomfortable, you're actually doing really strong work. When you relax, your margin of error, it increases significantly. So don't relax and just always be aware and make sure you make allowances for that ear. Line up your shear, line up your eyes, and just go in and just little by little, just like chicky in that perfect square one length. Just with the tips of the shear, just get that guy in. Come to natural fall. You're looking for awkward weight, and you can check it off. Because especially like where the hair rounds and the crown area, that's where you will find like mistakes. There's always mistakes. I know where to find them, so I know where to put special attention to. Because when I was training and I was cutting my bobs, I will remember where my art directors would go. The first places they'll go to look to find mistakes, there were always mistakes, and they're still there today, but they're not as obvious. My point is, there's no such thing as a perfect bob. Just give 100% and kick in all these key details, and you will up your game. So now for the blow dry, I'll go in, I'll flat wrap a bit, and then I'll start to leave the hair and bevel. I'm using a lot of tension. I don't want root lift, but I want a nice bevel. I want to get the hair smooth, shiny. I want it to feel like silk. I want it to feel expensive. I want it to feel luxurious. I want my client, after she touches her hair after my blow dry, she feels like, wow, seriously, is this my hair? It's too incredible. What do you do to it? I mean, you want it. And the way to achieve that effect is just make sure you nail that cuticle. And the reason why I'm not going for too much root lift for my finish here is because once the hair is dry, I have to go back and refine that shape. So I cannot allow myself to go in and blow out an artificial shape when I know I have to go back and check it off technically, because the hair lies significantly different wet and dry. So just get it nice and smooth and just flat and sleek and smooth as possible, and then get ready for round 2. Because like the polishing of the shape is pretty intensive. Okay, so now the hair is dry, we have to polish our line. So keep on combing the hair to natural fall, combing clean, combing clean, combing clean, and you're gonna do this all day long. And then to the back area, once you clean out the line, I see how I have some graduation in that line. So I'm going in and I'll refine it, but I flip the angle of my shears, so I'm cutting like the angle, it cuts from outward in. So see, notice the angle of my shears now? So I'm chopping that stuff up. I don't want to go in square here. I'm chopping it in. So my angle is acute, so it'll give it even more of a bevel. Okay, and so for the fringe area, I'll work off what's pre-existing. She already has a fringe, so I'll cut a little like A-line on each corner fringe. So I'll have a corner that meets in the middle. So with the fringe, you comb the hair just in natural fall and just work in that fringe little by little. And notice how like the right side, the hair is not as dense and the left side is heavy. So I have to aim for a nice symmetrical balance between those two. So with the fringe, don't rush it. Take your time, make it perfect, because you can't mess up a fringe, because that's the first thing a client sees. So save the fringe for last, and save your best for last. Okay, and there we have it, our Joy Bob. Enjoy.